You're probably not going to enjoy what I'm going to say in this video. In fact, I'm probably going to say a couple of things that will hurt you or offend you. And I can promise you that if you stick through to the end, if you set your ego aside, if you push through some of the discomfort of the things I'm about to talk about, I'm going to give you the key to true freedom in your craft as a musician. Now, if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to put in hard work, if you're the kind of person who can't handle discomfort, if you're the kind of person who just wants a quick fix or an easy strategy or something like that, then this is not the video for you. You should go somewhere else. But if you're the kind of person who wants to find very freeing fulfillment in what you do, who's willing to put in effort, who's willing to take a look at the inside of themselves and figure out what's going on in there, then you're going to find a ton of value in this video. My name is Matt Kelly. I'm the founder of Gig City Music Group. We are a community of musicians in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who are working together to network, to raise the professionalism of the scene, to build each other up, and to make music in Chattanooga great and fulfilling for everybody involved. That sounds awesome to you. Make sure that you like this video. Make sure that you subscribe to our content. Go check out our social media pages. Follow along with what we're doing, because if you're the kind of person who's still watching this after what I just said, you're the kind of person I want in our community. So go check that out. If you're watching this, you're probably a musician, which means that you are a creative person. And if you're a creative person like me, you probably have lots of ideas come to you all the time. I know I do. I have tons of ideas, and like most of them suck, but every now and then I'll get like this gem and I kind of like start obsessing over it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the coolest idea anybody's ever had, you know? And then I start getting this vision for what that could look like. Maybe it's a song idea. It's like, oh, I could write this song for this group and I could perform it or whatever. Or maybe it's an idea for the business, for Gig City Music Group, or this would be a cool event to have, or it would be awesome to do this thing with this person, or to have this person on my podcast, or maybe I should start a podcast, you know? And then I have these ideas, and then so many times those ideas never materialize. They just like, I get excited about them and they get started and then they just kind of like disappear, or they go on the back shelf. And it's really easy when that happens to come up with excuses for why that happened that are external to myself. Like, oh, well, you know, that didn't really happen because I just didn't really have the money, you know, or I didn't have time because this thing happened at work and I had to fix the air conditioning unit. And so I just ran out of time. I don't have the time anymore. Or, hey, people are gatekeeping this area of the music industry. And so people can't really get in there or whatever, you know, or excuses. And like these excuses may actually be true. They may actually be something that's keeping me from a result that I want. And yet those excuses are also the very thing that is keeping me stuck. But not because of the excuses themselves. It's because I believe that those excuses are obstacles to me getting somewhere. And like, before you write me off as somebody who's just like, just manifest what you want to happen, see it and visualize it and it'll happen. No, I'm not saying that. I actually think that's kind of dumb. Sorry if you do that, but you're doing something that I think is dumb. Like you can't just visualize something and have it materialize, right? You have to recognize that there is a distance between where you are and where you want to be, but then also acknowledge the steps that it takes to get there. Because when it comes down to it, if something has been done before, that means it can be done. And if you are not doing it for whatever reason, that means that you are not doing the things that are necessary to get that result. You see, we work in a world where there are principles, right? We work in a world where there are physical laws, right? Like gravity. it doesn't really matter how I feel about gravity. It's still going to pull me down to the ground, right? If I trip and fall, I'm not going to fall up, right? I'm going to fall down. And that's just a principle for how creation works, for how the universe runs. And it doesn't matter if it's fair or not. What if I really want to fall up? What if I really visualize that? No, it's just not going to happen, right? In the same way, like if I really want an orange, but I plant an apple seed, it doesn't matter what I do from that point onward. If I sow an apple seed, I'm going to reap apples. An apple tree will never produce oranges, and that's a principle. So if I want oranges, I have to tear up the apple tree and plant an orange seed, and then I can get oranges. It's kind of abstract here. Let me give you another example. Nay, how much is a movie ticket right now? Like $13, something like that? All right, we'll say $13. If you want to go to the movies, like let's say you go to the movie theater and you show up at the ticket desk and you say, hey, I want a ticket to Fast and Furious 28 or whatever they're on right now. And they say, okay, that'll be $13. You say, oh, well, that's not fair. I only have $7. That's all I was given was $7. Well, that doesn't change the price of the ticket. The ticket's still $13. They're not going to be like, oh, well, since that's all you have. No, they're going to say, well, okay, come back with $13 and I'll give you a ticket. We all start with a different amount of money. Some of us start with $7, some with $0. Some of us have $30. We could buy 2 tickets, right? But regardless of how much we start with, the ticket's still $13. And if we want to get a ticket to the movie, we have to do the things that are necessary to get that ticket, which is paying $13. Right? See, we all have some very legitimate obstacles in our way, and life is very much not fair. Some of us have more privilege than others, right? And we can sit here and we can say, oh, well, this person started with more money than me, or this person's daddy knows this person's daddy, and or this person has a different skin color than me, or this person like went to a better school, or whatever it is. And what kind of sucks about that is that all of those things actually like play into how easy it is to get the $13 for the ticket. But what it doesn't do is change the price of the ticket. And so whether it's fair or not, we as people, but especially for the sake of this channel as musicians, we need to stop asking ourselves, what's holding me back? What are the things in the way? Why, we need to stop asking, is this possible to achieve? And start asking, what would it take for me to achieve this? Because you see, there's a principle that's impossible for us to get around. That principle is that you reap what you sow. You can't escape that. And maybe it sucks. And maybe you hate that you can't escape that. And maybe it's unfair where you started. Believing that and choosing to stay there is also what's keeping you chained. It's also what's keeping you stuck. But you've already been set free. I know this like it sounds super cruel. I hear the words coming out of my mouth, and I can already see like the comment section if we had one at this point. And I can hear you say like Matt, this is like cruel. That's not fair. You don't understand. You're not taking into account like these awful things that have happened to people, or people's backstory or trauma or whatever it is. It's like, no, I actually am taking those things into account, and it sucks and it's unfair and I hate that and I care about those things. And the price of the ticket is still $13. You know, there's in a second, I promised you a key to freedom here. I'm going to give you some practical ways to actually move the dial forward in your pursuit of music. But first, I want to tell you another story. So there's a story in the book of Genesis about these 2 guys. You've probably heard of them before, Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel are brothers. Cain's the older brother, Abel's the younger brother. Cain is a farmer, Abel is a shepherd. And the two of them in the story, as the story goes, are doing their various jobs, right? Cain's doing his farm thing. He's making some real good corn over here. Abel's doing his shepherd thing. He's got some awesome sheep that are going on, right? And both of them take the fruit of what they've done, right? Cain takes the best fruit from the harvest, the best vegetables, whatever, and brings those before God. Abel takes the best animals and sacrifices them, brings them to God, and they lay them at God's feet. And God accepts Abel's offering and rejects Cain's offering. Because you see, God had established a principle. That principle's fleshed out a little bit more later in the Bible. At this point, we haven't gotten much context for why God would accept one sacrifice over the other. But regardless of why, there is a principle established. And the principle is that, like, hey, this kind of sacrifice is what I'm looking for. This kind of offering is what I'm looking for, and not this kind. And so Abel brings the kind that God's looking for. Cain does not. And Cain is rejected, and he's upset. And I can imagine, this is now me like putting myself in Cain's shoes and imagining what he must be thinking right now. It's like, God, I worked my butt off all day, or day in and day out, to produce these things that I've now brought to you. And I didn't even bring you the crap or what's left over. I brought you the best of what my work had to offer. And like I haven't even like Abel's got it easy over here, right? He's tending animals. Like, as long as like he leads them to the right place, they're gonna like feed themselves and take care of themselves, right? Like, he's got the easy job over here. And I'm over here working the ground, which, by the way, God, you cursed, remember, with our parents, Adam and Eve? You remember that? Like, last chapter of this existence, right? Like, you cursed the ground and made it hard to work and hard to till. And so, like, I'm doing this thing that you've made difficult, and I'm working my butt off to please you, and I'm bringing this sacrifice before you, and you have the audacity to reject that? That's not fair. That's not fair. And Cain, he has a choice to make at this point. He can either choose to embody the principle that has been established, or he can choose to rebel against it. And he chooses to rebel against it. And he does something at this point that up until this point in human history, up to this point in the story, has been inconceivable. He lets his resentment grow. And he starts to hate the person that is accepted. And he starts to think that this person is actually the enemy. This person is actually somebody who like doesn't have their best interest in mind. And he goes out into the field. He sneaks up behind his brother Abel, and he murders him. Right there. God comes up to him and he says, Cain, where's your brother? And you've probably heard Cain's response before. His response is, what, am I my brother's keeper? Like, aren't you the one who's supposed to be watching over him, God? And God says, your brother's blood is crying out from the ground. And then God says something very fascinating to me that sometimes I think I just brush over when I hear this story. He says, Cain, if you do well, will you not be accepted? But now sin is crouching at your door, waiting to devour you. You see, Cain was met with a principle that on the surface was very unfair. And yet a principle did not care about how Cain felt about it. The principle was the principle. And instead of doing, like submitting himself to the principle and doing what needed to be done to get to the place where he wanted to be, which was acceptance, he rebelled against it, which filled him with resentment and bitterness and murder. See, you reap what you sow. And when you begin to sow seeds of rebellion and resentment, that's a fruit that nobody ultimately wants to eat. Here in a second, we're going to talk about what we need to do instead to not have the same fate as Cain. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
You don't need no Superman to sweep you off your feet. No vigilante renegade or messianic wannabe. But even if I thought that's who you wanted me to be, my hope is you'd still...
Does any of that resonate with you? Do you feel stuck? You feel like there's just no open doors anywhere around you? You feel like anytime you step out and try something, the door just gets like shut in your face, or you get told that that's too hard or that that's not possible. That's like super demoralizing, especially for somebody who, like you, is being vulnerable enough to put yourself out there. Like, it really sucks to open yourself up to the possibility of getting hurt and then actually getting hurt and getting smacked or getting the door closed in your face or getting punched in the gut or something like that. Like that sucks. And I'm here to help you. But it's going to take something that's not easy, but the result for you is going to be so freeing. Because remember, we're talking about this principle of reaping what you sow. And if getting here and having this thing or being in this place is something that you want, and what it takes is putting in the necessary inputs to get there, then that can be good and bad. One, that means like in order to figure out, how to get here, we've got to come up with what are the things that I need to do. And sometimes those things that you need to do are things that you're not skilled enough to do yet, or that you don't know the right people for yet, or whatever. Like we're going to all of a sudden see what some of the real obstacles are. And those real obstacles, is kind of the crappy thing about real obstacles instead of fake obstacles, is that like you actually run into them, right? You actually bounce off of them when you hit them. But also it means you're working with something real. And so like you're actually solving the real problem here. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably a musician. I want you to think back to like when you first started learning to play your instrument. I'm a trumpet player. That's what I play most often. Nobody sounds good when you start playing trumpet. Like I've done a lot of like brand new, like this is called a trumpet classes, with sixth graders. And it's just like a room full of dying cats. Right? Like nobody sounds good when you first start playing trumpet. Maybe you do. I don't know. It wasn't the case for me. History has proven to me that's not the case. But what do you do? If you had never played trumpet before and you wanted to learn, and somebody just handed you a trumpet and said, "Here, do whatever you want," would you have a good time or a bad time? You would have a bad time because you have an idea of what you want it to sound like. You've probably heard a trumpet sound good before, or you probably have like a song that you want to learn. But if you're just given a trumpet and said, here's the tool, you have the tool now, do whatever you want. Like you're going to spend a lot of time figuring out how to not make dead cat or dying cat noises, right? Like, and that's super frustrating. And what does it take to get to where you want to be? It takes embodying the principles of good trumpet playing, right? You learn your scales. You learn all your fingerings. You learn how to buzz your lips, right? You learn how to have proper air support and how to not sit like this so your lungs aren't all crushed, right? You start to do these things, and the more you do them, the more you practice your scales and your exercises and your breath support and all of that, the more you listen to people playing it well, the more that becomes muscle memory. And the more you begin to embody the principles of trumpet playing. And that actually requires you like restricting yourself. See, like at first, a principle always seems restrictive because like if I want to play trumpet well, I can't apply the laws of saxophone, right? I can't apply the physics of percussion, right? I have to begin to work on the laws of trumpet playing, right? But then when I start to do that and it becomes muscle memory and I begin to embody the principles of good trumpet playing, then I start to actually begin to produce good trumpet playing. You see, when you restrict yourself and submit yourself to a principle, then after that initial restriction, a whole world of freedom opens up. Because when you embody that principle, you become free to play the songs you want to play, to create the sounds that you want to create. And it actually becomes like that initial restriction actually becomes the thing that opens up the world of possibility that you've been hoping to be in this whole time. Here's the key. This is going to unlock your chains right here. You have to take ownership and do what's necessary. Take ownership. Stop asking if something is possible and ask, what does it take? What principles are at work? And how can I begin to embody those? Now, I'm going to ask a question. Why don't more people do that? I'll tell you why. The short answer is because it kind of sucks. It's not fun to sit in a practice room and play your B flat major scale over and over again. That's boring. And what's even worse is like when you first start, it's boring and you sound bad, right? So you don't even get like the reward of like, okay, maybe it's boring, but good grief, I sound great. No, it's like, this is boring and I suck. And all this is doing is just highlighting how I'm not where I want to be. And like, that's like, you just got to like be able to sit with that discomfort. But what sucks even more is like, let's take this beyond just like learning an instrument. When it comes to like, even just like developing as a person, right? Like we're going to find actually even like an extension to this principle of reaping what you sow, because, to have this, you have to do this. But in order to do this, you have to be the kind of person that can do this. And so we find that a lot of the work that we do in order to get where we want to be, it takes some like actual like self work and emotional work. Right, you're going to have to be able to look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm committed to being in a relationship with the person that's looking back at me. And you're going to find that as you figure out what you need to do, you're going to be met with all of the ways where you feel like you're not enough. You're going to be met with all of your shortcomings, with the skills that you haven't developed yet, with the emotional resilience that you haven't developed yet. You're going to be met with like wounds maybe from your childhood that you haven't looked at and you've tried really hard to bury, but all of a sudden they're coming back up because you have to deal with them now. Like it's no wonder a lot of people don't do that and instead just sit in the background with their arms crossed and criticize everybody else who's doing it, right? Is because you have a choice. You can't have both. You can either move forward, do what's necessary and grow, or keep your ego intact. You can't have both though. So either this vision needs to die or your ego needs to die. Both are painful. Choose your pain. I'm here to say that this ego death, it's more painful in the moment, but yields more freedom later on. I'm going to be real honest with you. Like the way this work looks for me is like my biggest thing is fear. Like I've just spent so much of my life afraid of things, afraid of people, afraid of being perceived a certain way, afraid of like failing at something. And a lot of that is stemmed from like my view of myself. And like a lot of times, honestly, like I feel like my success is like a burden to somebody else, or that like if I am like trying to get somewhere to achieve something, but somebody else is stuck somewhere, that like for some reason, like that's like hurting them, or I don't know, like, and that's something that I wrestle with sometimes, where instead it's actually like I have to remind myself, no, like if I get here, then I can like teach other people how to get there too. And like, maybe I can bridge the gap for people. But also some people just want to criticize, right? Some people are just not going to be happy with something going well in my life. But man, I just spent so much time afraid. Like I probably honestly would have started Gig City Music Group 2 years ago when I had the idea, if I hadn't been afraid of like figuring something out that I don't know what I'm doing. I guess so often, there's that garbage truck again, or trumpet class or whatever it is out there. I just spent so much time like not doing things because I've been afraid of how it's going to be perceived, or I've been afraid of failing at it or something like that. And because of that, I've just like stayed stuck. And I even have to deal with that now. Like I'm actively trying to kill that part of my ego that is like self-serving, in that I'm protecting myself from the pain of being misunderstood or of failing or something like that. Like just last week, I had to have a conversation with somebody that was pretty uncomfortable, where I had to like make some correction there. And I knew that they were going to disagree with what I had to say, and that they were going to push back. And like, in fact, I should have had the conversation like 3 weeks ago, and I just kept putting it off. And because of that, I stayed stuck in the anxiety of having that conversation. It just like basically gave myself a panic attack because I was too afraid to step in and do what was necessary to have the result, which is restored relationship. And I did have that conversation last week, and they did disagree with me, and they did yell at me, and we worked through it. And like, I don't know if you realize this or not, but I didn't die. And now we have a deeper understanding of each other, and we can move forward in more freedom and understanding, because instead of remaining afraid I still stayed afraid too. I still like, it's not that the fear went away. It's that I chose to act in spite of it. But like, instead of sitting in that fear longer, I chose to act. And because of that, I reaped part of what I sowed. So all that to say, like, if you're stuck right now, look at what you're putting in. Look at the seeds that you're planting. What are the things that you're doing? Are those things that are going to yield the fruit that you want to have? And if they're not, what will it take? And when you realize what will it take, are you willing to do the self-work that is necessary to be able to start doing those things? I could give you like some strategies for making money. I could hook you up with some people that could open some doors for you. I could offer some classes that teach you certain skills. I could do all those things. And actually, hey, I will do those things. But none of those things will stick if you don't first embody this principle and take ownership of your life, take ownership of your craft. And when you do that, when you decide I'm going to take ownership of this and do what I need to do, then that's when the strategies start to work. That's when the capital starts to work. That's when going viral starts to work. Not saying that you will go viral if you do that, but saying that virality doesn't help you if you don't have this, right? So start to take ownership of your craft. That's the key to really finding freedom in life. And here's the thing. If life throws you a curveball and you don't end up getting what you want, your life is going to be so much more full because of it. Like when I started taking ownership of things, and this is a process, right? I'm not there. Like I said, I still struggle with a lot of fear, and I abdicate responsibility all the time. But the more that I don't do that, the more I take ownership, it's like there's more oxygen in the air. So regardless, this is just going to make your life better. If you want to spend more time talking about things like this and be around other people who are pursuing this kind of thing, we've got an online community that you can join. Right now, we're in a Facebook group primarily, and we're working on some other avenues of connection. We're doing some in-person meetups. We've got an event calendar on our website where you can find some awesome music events. It aggregates all the public music events in Chattanooga. So go check that out. You might find something that you enjoy. You might see me there. But I want to build you up. I want to help open up some doors. I want to hold you up as you go on this journey of becoming and doing and having. So join those things. Like and subscribe. Hit the buttons. Serve the algorithm. All that stuff. But not because like I just want to please some robots in a server room somewhere or make Mark Zuckerberg like me. No, it's because I want to help you. This is something that is just increasing the oxygen content in the air of my life. And I want to do the same for you. So come, connect, reach out, join the community, and let's grow together. I want to end now with a quote from a speech that Teddy Roosevelt gave in Paris in 1910. You may have heard this before. I'm going to read this quote here. "The poorest way to face life is to face it with a sneer. There are many men who feel a kind of twisted pride and cynicism. There is no more unhealthy being, no man less worthy of respect, than he who either really holds or feigns to hold an attitude of sneering disbelief toward all that is great and lofty, whether in achievement or in that noble effort which, even if it fails, comes to second achievement. A cynical habit of thought and speech, a readiness to criticize work which the critic himself never tries to perform, an intellectual aloofness which will not accept contact with life's realities, all these are marks, not as the possessor would feign to think, of superiority, but of weakness. They mark the men unfit to bear their part painfully in the stern strife of living, who seek, in the affection of contempt for the achievements of others, to hide from others and from themselves in their own weakness. The role is easy. There's none easier, save only the role of the man who sneers alike at both criticism and performance. But it is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." Guys, I believe in you. You have what it takes. I want to help you. Let's work together. We always end each episode with some music, some local Chattanooga music. So we're going to end today with another song that I wrote. This song is called Knight in Shining Armor. Hope you enjoy. Take a listen, and I'll see you guys soon.
You don't need no Superman to sweep you off your feet. No vigilante renegade or messianic wannabe. But even if I thought that's who you wanted me to be, my hope is you'd still love me just for me. I don't wanna be a knight in shining armor. I don't wanna be the one who sets you free. I just wanna be there when you remember just how much you mean to me. You don't need no piggy bank to lend you what you need. No philanthropic charity to underwrite your flourishing. If the weight of all your love for me is the same as what you owe, I'll need to choose which one I'm letting go. I don't wanna be a knight in shining armor. I don't wanna be the one who sets you free. I just wanna be there when you remember just how much you mean to me. You're the one for me. What's it gonna take for you to see that there's no other way for me to feel when you're gonna come around, girl? You're the one for me. What's it gonna take for you to see that there's no other way for me to feel when you're gonna come around, girl? You're the one for me. What's it gonna take for you to see that there's no other way for me to feel when you're gonna come around, girl? You're the one for me. What's it gonna take for you to see that there's no other way for me to feel when you're gonna come around, girl? 'Cause I don't wanna be a knight in shining armor. time you